A lot of students tell me that one of the things they dislike about science classes is the math that science classes require. And I don't think it should be that way. I know sometimes math is challenging, and the further you go and the higher and the more complex it gets, the more challenging it is. But I'm going to show you today a way to do math that'll work every single time. I've never encountered a math problem where this technique didn't apply. And it's not so unique that, oh, I could give this a name and become famous. But it's so simple that it's usually overlooked. And it's so fundamental to being successful in math that it's worth making a video. So grab a piece of paper and a pen, get your calculator if you want to follow along or just sit back and chill. I'm going to get a paper and a pen. I'll be right back. All right. I'm going to use a Sharpie because it shows up better, not because it's a good idea to do math with a Sharpie, but it's going to show up better, so I'm going to use it. So the first step, absolutely every time, write down what's given. So I'm going to make up a problem that's common in physics and chemistry. It's a density problem. Let's say we have a problem that says find the density of an object with a mass of 10 grams and a volume of 2 cubic centimeters. So the first thing is to write down what's given. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to write down density equals. And I'm going to put a question mark because the question is, what's the density? And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write down the mass. Mass is, and it said, in the problem said the mass was 10 grams, so I'm going to put 10 grams. And then the question is, what is the volume? Or the next thing that was given is, what is the volume? So the volume is 2 centimeters cubed, 2 cubic centimeters. So now I have written down what is given. Step one, every single time write down what's given. This is the step that a lot of people won't do. I see algebra students in my classes. I see obviously my ICP kids. I saw this when I taught physics before. Students don't want to write down what's given. If you don't write down what's given, if you skip this step, you're already off to a struggling start. The second step is to find a formula that relates these variables. So I look up in a book or I Google formula for finding density. And it's going to come back and I'm going to find a formula that's going to say that density equals mass divided by volume. Now you have a choice to make. So the first step is write down what's given. The second step is to find a problem. Now you have to decide, is my formula in the form that I want, or do I need to rearrange it? Or do I need to look up a different formula? In our case, the density is what we're looking for, and we have a density equals formula. It could be that we were asked to find the mass, and now I have to decide, do I want to rearrange the formula with letters, or do I want to plug numbers in first? It really doesn't matter what you do, but once you have confirmed that this is the formula you want to use, step 3 is to plug in and solve. So I said it's a 4-step method. The 2B step is to rearrange your formula into the way that you want to use it in order to answer the question. Step 3 is plug in and solve. So density is what I'm looking for, so I'm going to keep the D. The D is going to come down, and I'm going to put the equal sign. Mass is 10, and volume is 2. Now, I need to put the units in. And a lot of times when we put the units in, students will suddenly start glazing over because not only do I have numbers to fool around with, but I also have letters. So I'm going to write the units smaller so that maybe they won't be so scary. Grams, and then I have centimeters cubed. Now here's a clue. If the grams and the centimeters are not the units of density, then I've done something wrong. I've started off wrong. Something is going wrong here. But grams per centimeter are the units of density. So by writing the units in, I'm kind of getting a little check before I get started. Now, mathematically, you can punch this in your calculator. All we have to do in this case is divide. So step 3, plug in the numbers and solve. Okay? So density equals 5 grams per centimeter cubed. It's just that easy. It's just that easy. Step 1, write down what's given. Step 2, write down a relevant formula. Step 3, plug in and solve. Now what a lot of students will do is they'll try to go directly to step 3. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you get everything in the right place and you can go right to step 3. If you do this every single time, it will help you prevent errors and prevent mistakes. One last thing. A lot of times students will try to shortcut some of the steps in solving the problem, and that's never a good idea either. Every line of your problem needs to have an equal sign, and as you manipulate each side of the equation, you need to carry that down. Trying to skip steps when you're first learning these techniques, when you're trying to skip steps, it's just going to lead to the possibility of being confused and making more mistakes. But this method is going to work every single time. Start out by writing down what's given, write down the formula, plug your numbers in and solve. Now sometimes you have in that middle step, sometimes you have to rearrange the formula, but that's okay. Now this is going to work in physics, it's going to work in chemistry, it's going to work in any kind of rate problems. Almost every problem in math is going to work this way. So do these steps and be successful. Don't let the math scare you off. Science is an amazing way of understanding the world around us, and math is a tool to help you do that.